Hello, Tungsten Miner here. Today I'm going to talk about JourneyMap. Unlike most mods, this one actually just has to do with the user interface of Minecraft itself. It doesn't add anything to the game or change how anything works, but rather it gives you the opportunity to see a tiny little map in the corner of your screen. So if you look in the bottom right of my screen, for example, you can see my journey map down there. I happen to have configured it so that it's keeping the map still as I turn about, and instead it's changing that little marker in the center and the lines that radiate out from it. And the boulder line is facing in the same direction that I'm facing. The little bit of text underneath tells me what location I'm at, my X, Z, and Y coordinates, and the biome that I'm standing in. If I press the J key, it brings up this kind of full screen version of the map. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. If I've moved my map around to look at some interesting thing far away, I can get back to my current location. You can see now at the bottom here I've got two different sets of text. The first one is where my cursor is currently pointing, and the bottom one is where my character is currently standing. I can switch between day and nighttime views. So you can see there's a beehive pretty close to my location that's giving off some light. Probably another one over there. I'll switch back to daytime view. They're a little bit harder to see. If I happen to be in a cave, then I can switch to cave mode. So I'm going to head down here. And now my mini-map has changed to cave mode. And if I go to my full screen map, you can see that also has changed to cave mode. And things have narrowed in a bit, and I'm not seeing quite so clearly all the details around where I am. And as I get deeper into this cave, I'll wind up being able to see more and more. So let me give myself a little bit of night vision here, so I can tell where I am. And I'll explore this cave a bit and be right back with you. Okay, so I've walked around a bit, and I've added a bunch of torches to this cave, which, as you can see, has changed what I can actually see on my map itself, because the map takes into account what you've lit up and what you haven't lit up. So I haven't explored this little piece of the cave, but it's lit up because of the lava that's obviously over there. And I have explored this little chunk of the cave and this little chunk of the cave, but there's actually other pieces to this cave that I've also explored that I can't see because I'm at a different elevation than those sections of the cave. So as a block is further away from you, it also gets darker until eventually you can't see it at all. So I can see the pieces of the cave that I have both lit up and are near the same altitude that I am, but I can't see things that I have not lit up or are too far away. So as I drop down into a deeper part of the cave, and switch back to my big map here, you can see I've lit up slightly different areas in the cave map. As I get close to the surface, my map is going to switch automatically back to daytime view, which shortly will be nighttime view. Okay, so getting back to that big map and some of the other features it has. I can show mobs. So here's a spider, probably in a cave, lots of skeletons and zombies and creepers and endermen, all sorts of things all around. I can show animals. So I've got some sheep nearby, some squids out in the bay. Pets, if I had any, so horses, cats, dogs, that kind of thing. Villagers, if I happen to be near a village. Grid. This is the chunk grid. So very briefly, Minecraft has an infinite map in all directions, but of course your computer can't handle drawing an infinite number of boxes on the screen. So what Minecraft does instead is it takes those chunks of the world that are nearby to the player and loads them into memory and makes animals and mobs and things walk around in them and machines run and crops grow and all that sort of stuff. The chunks themselves are 16 meters by 16 meters. So what you can see is that I'm standing in one of these chunks that encompasses a little bit of this hillside. Here's a chunk that has a little bit of the bay and some more of the hillside. Here's another one that's all in the bay. So this grid shows you where those chunk boundaries are. Very handy if you're planning out machines where you want to make sure that all the machines are in the same chunk together. It comes with a bunch of different themes. So this is the purist theme. This is the vault theme. This is the Victorian theme. And I think that's all. Options we'll come back to in just a second. Actions. Get your about information. Auto map allows you to say, Are you going to map all of the regions or just the missing regions? Whoops, sorry, did actions. Disable mapping will just turn this off. Save map will save your map as an image file on your hard drive, so you can, say, upload it to the web or send it to somebody. Delete map will remove the map information that's already been collected. So for example, if you delete the world and regenerate it, and it has the same name, it's going to use the same map. But it might have regenerated, say, with a different seed. So the actual world is going to be different, but JourneyMap doesn't know that. And you'll have to use this to delete its map files so that it doesn't have things loaded that it doesn't really have loaded. And then you can check for an update. And please do donate to JourneyMap. These guys work really hard, and it's a cool mod. This is your alerts, so it just so happens that I have a new version that I could download and install if I wanted to. But for now, I'll leave it alone. Now, back to these options. There are a lot of options. The mini-map options are many of the same options that we have on the main full screen map. So, do you show the biome? Do you show the compass? Do you show the grid? All those sorts of things, mobs and different stuff. This is your frames per second, so you can show how fast you're rendering. Show location is your XYZ coordinates. Player headings is, do you show the players themselves, but also do you show what direction they're pointed? And you can see all of these things are described in the tooltip. So if there's anything I don't talk about, then you can get the help that way. Okay, so down here, you can change the way that your coordinates are expressed. So you can say, for example, X, Y, Z, or just X and Z, and don't tell the altitude at all. I prefer this one because X and Z are basically your coordinates on the ground, north, south, east, west coordinates, and Y is your altitude. So I think it makes sense to have that separate. I'd mentioned before that I've got that little crosshair that's facing the same direction as my player. That's the reticle. And you can choose between having it follow the player's facing or always face north, south, east, and west. And you can do the same thing for the map itself. So you can have the map always facing north. Minecraft used to have north in a different place, so that's what that is. Or you can have it follow your heading. So basically, you can have the reticle face in the same direction as you, or the map face in the same direction you, or both. Or you can have them follow north, either which one, or any combination. So I like the map to stay facing north, and I like the reticle to face the same direction that I am. You can move it around the screen into all the different corners. You can change it between circles and squares. The font scale is a little weird. It changes a lot, right? So from 1 to 2 is a pretty dramatic change. Up to 3 is like huge, and 4 is, yeah, crazy. So I recommend, you'll basically find there's kind of only one setting that makes any kind of sense for you. We can also change the map opacity. So you can see that border around the outside edge is getting more or less opaque as I do this. I just leave it all the way on. You can make the map itself have different levels of opacity, so any combination of those you like. And you can make it however big you want. So this is a percentage of your screen. So if I, for example, expand my window and give myself more room for Minecraft, then the map will likewise get bigger. But I can expand this as much as I like, or as little as I like, down to kind of a reasonable minimum here. So I find I like it to be about that big. Okay, that is the mini-map settings. You can have 2 different mini-maps. A lot of people like to make one teeny in the corner and have the other be mostly transparent but take up the whole screen so that you kind of see it kind of vaguely underneath or above your regular view of the world. The full screen map has basically all the same settings as well, although a little bit different. A lot of these, like the theme and whether or not you can see players and villagers and things, also have controls on the full screen map, so you don't need to come in here for some of those things. You can enable a web map. I've never actually gotten this to work properly, so it isn't something I've ever tried to use, and I don't know very much about it. Waypoints. These are super, super useful. So a waypoint is just a location that you mark for later. And a death point is a waypoint that gets created automatically when you die. So I'm going to turn on these waypoints here, and I'm going to configure my waypoint beacons so that I can see them in the world. And I'm going to show distance and label. I'm going to show the beam. I'm going to auto hide the label. I'm going to make the beam rotate. Okay, all those things. So now let's close out of here. So here I am standing at whatever location this happens to be. And I'm going to go ahead and make myself a waypoint. Probably a good time, actually, to talk about controls. Over here in my controls section, down towards the bottom, there's actually a whole bunch of different key bindings that JourneyMap creates for you when it's installed, and which, of course, you can configure through your normal settings. Creating waypoint is B, getting that configuration screen, that full screen map is J. Switching between your two mini maps is backslash. This switches between which mode your mini map is currently in. And then zooming out is really plus and minus. It says equals here because that's the letter on the bottom of the key. So if I want to create a waypoint, I press B, and that's going to bring up this menu. By default, the name is just wherever you happen to be standing. Grab a different color so you can see it. And so I'll say this is my origin. I can change the location, so if it happens that I want to shift this around a bit, that's fine. I can put it way up in the air if I like. Choose the color either by dragging around in here or by picking this or grabbing a random color. Enabled and disabled means does it show up on the map and the mini map and all the different places. If it's enabled, it does, and disabled, it doesn't. And then which dimensions should show this waypoint. Most of the time, it's just going to pick the dimension you're currently in and none of the others. So you can see Nether and the End are the vanilla dimensions, and then I've also got Galacticraft installed, so you can see some of the Galacticraft dimensions over here. So I'm going to save this one, and you can see right next to me is a Waypoint Beacon, and it goes way, way, way up to where the waypoint actually is. Remember, I changed its Y coordinate to be 100, and I'm standing not at Y equals 100 at the moment, so that's going to be a lot higher up. Minimap 1, Minimap 2 is I've got disabled, so that goes away. And you can see I'm standing at X equals 200, Z equals negative 596, and Y equals 70. So that point is 30 meters above me. But the beacon goes infinitely far up into the sky. And if I were to move any distance away, that beacon is going to remain until that chunk goes away from the world. So you can see that thing at quite some distance. And even when that chunk has been unloaded and I'm too far away to render that chunk at all, the tag with its label is going to be visible, and the beacon itself will remain visible. Now if I turn far away, the label goes away, but you can still see that green dot. And if you turn your attention to the mini-map on the bottom right, you can see there's also a green dot there. And as I turn to face towards that dot, I can see, well, this is a bad example because it happens to be off the corner, which does funny things. There we go. So now as I get closer, you can see the mini-map is now looking a bit more normal. If I were to change my mini-map settings, Minimap 1, and I want to change the shape to round. There. So now it's going to be a lot more accurate in its representation of where that thing is relative to me. When it's a square, it gets a little confusing about how it's rendered, but this makes it a little bit easier. If you're really facing at it, the minimap shows that you're really facing at it. And you can see that it shows me how far away I am, so 322 meters. Okay, back into our options here. That's waypoints and waypoint beacons. Cartography. This allows you to configure what colors get chosen, basically. If you've got high display quality on, it tries to be a little bit more clever about choosing more differentiated colors. Bathymetry is showing the ocean floor. Whoops, let's go back here. So now you can see I've got the contours of the ocean and any blocks or anything. So I've got a mod installed that adds some coral and plants underwater, and we can see that those plants and things are getting rendered in the texture of the ocean floor. When I had bathymetry turned off, this was all just the same smooth blue color like the surface of the ocean. If I zoom out a bit, you can see this is what it looked like before I turned bathymetry on. And you'll notice that just because I changed the setting here, it doesn't go around and change the setting everywhere. You have to re-explore parts of your map from any changed settings that you make in Cartography. So it's best to kind of pick what you want right away. Let's see, showing plant shadows, crops and plants and growing things will cast shadows on the map, kind of like changes in elevation cast shadows on the map. Showing surface above caves so that you can kind of tell where you are a little bit. Use cave lighting. So this uses the actual lighting of the cave. So if you don't have torches, you're not going to see anything. If you turn this off, it's going to render the caves as though they were completely fully lit, which actually is kind of a bit cheating. So if I turn use cave lighting off, and let me go try to find a cave here. Maybe there's one underneath me. I can get lucky. Here we go. All right, now see that mini-map, how it's got that cave lit up in all directions all the way around me? Even though I don't have any torches laid down and no lighting of any kind. Even more dramatic on the big map. So here, you notice also underground, it fills out a lot less of the map around you. You have to get a lot closer to things. So here, it's actually mapped all of this stuff, right? All of the caves and things, even far, far away from where I could see. If I have turned on the, let's see here, options, show use cave lighting, close. There we go. See, now it's only lighting up those things that are close to lava or have any kind of light near them. I prefer this because it should be a little mysterious underground, hard to find things. Always map surface, so even when you're underground, it will record what's going on in the overworld as you're walking along. Ignore glass ceilings. This makes it so that when you walk underneath some sort of transparent block, it doesn't switch you to a map mode, to the cave mode. Showing crops, showing plants, use anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing is just making things show that shading effect to make like a topo map instead of using just all the same color. And then using transparency is especially for things like water or transparent blocks. It'll show a little bit of what's going on underneath. More settings. The reveal shape. So this has to do with when it's computing which chunks should it add to your map, what shape does it use when it's doing that. So you can use a circle or you can use a square. Circle is a little more realistic, I guess. Square is kind of nice too because you get more of the map all at once. But the more blocks it's trying to map at a time, the more it might affect the performance of your game. Minimum map cave distance, both on the surface and in caves. On the surface, it gives you a little bit more blocks around you, and in caves, a little bit less. Render delay, this makes it so that it's not rendering constantly. It waits a little bit and then catches up. The faster you have this, the more CPU power it's going to use. The slower, the less. But if it's sufficiently slow, it might miss pieces as you're walking really fast. So if you have like a boat or a train and you're moving really quickly, it might miss chunks because you move by them before it has a chance to wake up and map them. And then max distances for the surface and the caves. Okay, that gives you cartography. And then finally, your advanced options. You know what? More or less just ignore these. If you really, really want to get into it, I'd recommend go reading about what these settings do on their website. Most of the time, these are perfectly fine, and you have a very good chance of messing up your performance if you screw with these too much. Basically, smaller values are generally less demanding, although not always, so have a care. And that's it for our options. And that's basically it for the mod. Very, very handy. One of the things I pretty much always add to every mod pack that I create for myself. Really, really, really helpful. Anyway, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to hear when the next video comes out, subscribe. And I will talk to you later.